Welcome back to Operation Exchange. It's intended for a mature audience. Listener discretion is advised. We're going back to the audio for the time being. We are working on the video. The video quality we were happy with, but the audio quality on the video is not what we were hoping for. So every time we add video, we are sacrificing audio quality, and we can't afford to lose the audio quality.
Right. And I've been working on a few things, but it's not perfected yet. So
we're going to figure it out, but
Yeah.
it might take a little bit. So today we're talking about lion's mane. I've got a little bit of experience, and you've got all the notes and information over there. So ask me questions when you need to know something.
All right. So like you said, this is for Mushroom Monday, and this week's mushroom is lion's mane, or the scientific name is Hericium erinaceus. I'm sure I mutilated that, but that's as close as I can get. But most people call it by lion's mane, and it is a mushroom that grows on hardwoods in North America, Europe, Asia. And instead of having a cap and like stem, like we're used to seeing with most mushrooms, these grow in like a cascading kind of waterfall-y looking.
Kind of looks like a lion's mane, right?
Yeah, the lion's mane, the shaggy little pieces coming off of it, and they're oftentimes in the shape of like pom-pom, little pom-pom balls. So they don't look typical for your regular mushrooms normally.
Right.
But so they've been used throughout history in Chinese medicine for centuries. And they mostly used it for their cognitive enhancing and immune boosting properties. It was revered by Buddhist monks who believed it supported meditation by enhancing focus. So Buddhist monks have been using it for a long time as well.
Awesome.
Yeah, that was something new I didn't know.
Did they sell it?
I have no idea on that. I'm sure they just collected it.
Well, if they sold it, that could be the beginning of all these belief systems that lion's mane makes you smarter. I'm a long time taker of lion's mane, I would say. I mean, years, but not consistently. Consistently, only a couple months at a time.
Right.
But, I think it's debatable. 9 out of 10 people would probably agree that
It hadn't done anything for you.
it hadn't done anything for me at all.
No, all seriousness, like that's why the popularity is growing. Even if you've never taken it, I'm sure you've heard of it by now. It's getting out to be a more popular mushroom that people talk about for this reason. It's supposed to have potential for decreasing the likelihood or the the severity of Alzheimer's and Parkinson's disease. But those studies are limited, and more is needed to actually determine if it does have a long-lasting effect to help with those diseases.
Did you do you have any notes in there? Are we going to get to it at any point where they're talking about the when the lady brought up the test that they did on the lion's mane in the petri dish with the rodent brain?
I was going to let you talk about that when we start talking about the studies. That was one of the things that it really interested you and kind of brought some things to light. But key things about the lion's mane that are touted as being the benefits of lion's mane is cognitive function and brain health, mood and mental health, gut health and digestion, and then immune system support. So those are like the big overarching areas that this mushroom's supposed to be good for. Now, like he was saying, there have been some studies done on this one. It's not one that there's just no studies out there, but peer-reviewed, double-blind studies, there's very few of those. And one of the studies actually was talking about how the lion's mane had regrown the rat's brain cells, the neurons. And I'm going to let you tell them about that one.
Okay, so I'm not entirely sure who did the study. I think it was a Japanese study. But we found a YouTube channel. This lady was talking about it. And she was ripping the study apart, so to say. But what it was they put a rodent brain in a petri dish. Excuse me. And then they injected the brain with lion's mane, and it was actually reconnecting synapses. But that's not how it works if you take it digestively. I mean, not, at least not to that extent. Like it's not it's not getting directly injected into your brain. It would have to cross that blood-brain barrier and all that stuff.
Where most supplements have a difficult time actually
staying in your system long enough
to get through that barrier.
Okay, so one of the studies was that the rats getting the prize type thing. You know, like they would let these rats loose in a maze. They go and hunt down a piece of food or toy or something like that, and then they started giving them lion's mane, and they started finding the toys faster and remembering their ways around these like complicated gigantic maze. Took the lion's mane away, they started getting lost again, which brings like if it's reconnecting synapses.
Why do they lose the cognitive ability when they stop taking it?
That's right. Does your body know, hey, he's not taking lion's mane anymore, so let's just disconnect these synapses? So if that's really what's going on there, once it starts healing the brain and replacing things and repairing things that have been damaged over the years, you would think that would be a permanent fix, right?
Yeah, because they do have compounds that do stimulate the nerve growth factor. But it doesn't seem, from the few studies that they've done, it doesn't seem like that regeneration becomes permanent, or at least not in short-term amount of studies. Maybe it was only for a few months that they did that and then took it away. I don't know. Like that, it didn't go into depth of that.
I'm sorry to cut you off, but it did kind of go in like the details where they were actually injecting those brains of those mice with lion's mane. They're not, so they weren't feeding the mice, like so.
Oh, okay, so on both studies they were injecting straight to the brain.
Yeah, that was the I suppose the dead rodent's brain in the petri dish and the live rodent with the maze. So like they were actually giving those mice the same treatment that they knew would regrow synapses. And I think these mice had been artificially given Alzheimer's, like, before the testing began.
Yeah.
Look up these details on your own, because I didn't make any notes on the exact test, but they're pretty easy to find. You start Googling lion's mane studies.
Yeah, and I've got a couple of them that are lined out, like specifically on the cognitive function and brain health. There's a study called The Acute and Chronic Effects of Lion's Mane Mushroom on Mood and Cognitive Function. And this study just investigated whether lion's mane mushroom did have an effect on the mood or cognitive function in healthy young adults. So this is the sample size is pretty small, which is not great for doing investigating to see if a product works. Like the larger the sample size, the better usually.
Yeah, if you got like 1,000 people versus 100 people, or 100,
right,
versus 10 people or 2 people.
But the results were like they considered on preliminary because of the sample size, but it did seem to show that there was some improvement on the speed of cognitive performance. But we also heard the lady talk about a study where they had a placebo group and a group that were taking the lion's mane. They gave them a test before receiving the lion's mane, and then they gave both groups a test afterwards.
That's right.
Now, the group that took the lion's mane showed what, a 60%?
It was a 60% improvement on the second test.
But so did the placebo group.
Yeah, the placebo group actually showed a 60% improvement on that test too. And it's believed that they gave them the same test both times. So like, if you've taken a test and you get the wrong answers and they tell you what the right answers are, you go back a few weeks later, you take it, more than likely you're going to do better, right? I mean, you know exactly what to expect.
Right.
So it almost seems like that test was rigged. You know, like in a way.
The results could be skewed because most people can go and take the exact same test a couple of weeks later and perform better, like you said.
Yeah, and all this being said, and I still take it. I take it every day. I'm on a 5-2 regimen, so like I'm aware that it might not be doing anything for me at all, but I'm gonna continue to take it anyway. You know,
this is the one though that like when you ran out, for a little while, it was the only one you were taking there for a couple months, and whenever you ran out and what didn't like go get more, a couple of weeks later, you're like, man, something's off.
This isn't the first time I've done this. I've bounced in and out of doing the lion's mane and the mushrooms in general, you know. But like, you know, I tend to take them for 2 or 3 months at a time, and then I just like leave them alone for a while, go back to them, take them for 2 or 3 months at a time, and I took them for a couple months, and then I was like, I didn't, you know, like I gave it another shot, you know, like. That's one thing I'll give me an A+ in. I'll give something an honest shot, you know. But I wasn't feeling any different, you know. Like I believe this has happened before. I believe I remember this actually happening before too. A couple of years ago, I was taking them and I quit taking them, and I was like, oh yeah, like I need to get back on them. Like, you know, I could tell more of a difference when I wasn't on them than I can when I am. But there's nothing special about me. That could be a placebo effect. You know, I may feel like I'm waking up, taking my lion's mane, and I'm performing better or something, you know, or I'm feeling better, you know, just because I
think the last time it was like brain fog. You're like, I can't concentrate.
And there's been people who report having brain fog from taking it every day without any kind of break too, if they're not on a 5-2 regimen or a 4-3 regimen or something like that. And what I mean by that is like 4 days on, 3 days off, or vice versa. But how a lot of people explain it is like you got to give if
you go to the gym and you work your muscles,
you gotta be a rest period.
Yeah, because like they stretch out and they contract, and you got to give time for all those cells to heal from the micro tears when you're exercising.
And the people who firmly believe that that's what's going on, the synapses are being reconnected, the cells are being reconstructed. There, you know, like one, you know, there's like little micro tears happening inside your brain, in your nervous system in general. So like
you have to give it time to heal up.
So that's not why I'm really taking a break myself. I'm taking a break because these things are expensive. I've stretched that shit out a little bit, you know.
He's like, gives me a reason to stretch it out.
I can stretch this bottle out for one more week.
Right. But the mood and health benefits, like it says, it may reduce symptoms of anxiety and depression. I don't know that I suffer much from either of those. Like everybody's going to have some days.
Oh God.
What are you oh Godding about?
It ain't doing anything for me. I mean, I was driving to Nashville earlier today. They say that the way you treat people is a reflection of your happiness or your lack of. And I was giving them sons of bitches in Nashville my mirror. You know what I mean? They're trying to go 45 and a 70. And I'm just like, oh my, I don't even know if I got a job. We'll find out Monday after they watch the cameras, decide, you know, like me throwing apples and shit out the window. You know, I don't know if it's doing, honestly, I think it does. Like, well, then again, it could be a placebo effect, but I feel like I'm generally happier. Yeah. The traffic gets to me, man. That's part of my job as a truck driver, and so I don't know if there's a
maybe everybody needs to start taking some lion's mane. Maybe they figure out the interstate then.
If anybody lets you on the interstate, especially a truck, you want the trucks in the slow lane. We want to be in the slow lane. We really do. You know, we know most of us are governed at 68 miles an hour. Most of the time in the states that I deliver to, the interstate speeds are 70 miles an hour. That's the speed limit. And most of you guys are going 75 or 80 miles an hour. We don't mind. But if you act like you don't know how to merge onto the interstate and you're about to run up underneath a trailer, or you're going to have to slam on your brakes and might cause an accident because you're on your phone and the person behind you in the merge lane, they might be on their phone too. So like, a lot of us will just go ahead and get over and kind of drive for you too. And then y'all like to ride beside us for 6 miles. Like, what do you want us to do? Like I'm thinking about putting some stickers on the side of my trailer, like, you're welcome. I need back over. Thank you, Lions Mane. We're going to stay calm about this. We're not going to make a ruckus.
When you start staying calm about this, I'll know the Lions Mane's working.
Yeah. No evidence so far. Go ahead.
So, it's supposed to help with anxiety and depression. It's supposed to help regulate production of neurotransmitters like dopamine and serotonin. And then you've got your gut health, which we talked about with turkey tail. Turkey tail is like prime gut health mushroom. But the lion's mane has some prebiotic properties as well. So it can help keep beneficial bacteria around in your gut.
And if you start taking this stuff and you start taking several mushrooms at a time and you go to the bathroom, you come out, you look out the window, you see FEMA out there protesting and stuff because they think there's cows around causing some sort of methane explosion or whatever, don't be surprised. I'm just saying. I noticed that when Courtney was on the mushrooms for a little while. It was pretty bad.
Whatever. I've already told him I'm bad about remembering to take stuff.
Yeah.
So he's talking about himself.
You don't take enough lion's mane.
That may be the case. Maybe I need to start remembering to take it. And then they also have anti-inflammatory effects, which can help with digestive disorders such as irritable bowel syndrome, which I have suffered from. And then we've got immune system support. So they're another one that's rich in beta glucans and polysaccharides. And we talked about that in our turkey tail episode as well. Like those are the key immune boosters that you're going to find in mushrooms. And then they may help white blood cells function more effectively, improving the body's ability to fight infections. So kind of a steroid for the white blood cells.
Right.
Like.
And one thing I'm going to say about the immune system, I do have psoriasis. I've got a spot on my leg. I've got a spot on my elbow. Now, in general, this stuff started popping up around the age of like 34 for me, and I'm currently 42. So I've been dealing with this for about 8 years, and I medically, like I quit trying to get it treated. I might go get some shots eventually or whatever, but generally in speaking, the better my immune system, the worse my psoriasis.
Right.
Because it is an anti-immune something other, and so like
autoimmune disorder.
There you go. I'm sorry. Yeah. It's an autoimmune disorder. And so the better my immune system,
the more his skin cells regenerate.
That's right. Yeah. So like I used to be able to tell if I was about to get sick because my psoriasis would start clearing up. And I would be like, okay, so my immune system's down, so it doesn't have enough energy to do its hobby and destroy my skin. So what it's going to do now is going to take this energy and try to fight off this infection, which may turn into some sort of sickness. But yeah, my psoriasis has not gotten any better since I've started taking the mushrooms. So I'm going to assume
it's actually gotten a little worse.
It has gotten a little worse. So I will assume that it is boosting the immune system to some degree.
That's for just you, yeah.
Based off of me, yeah.
And you haven't caught near as much crap as I have. And
I think I'm coming down with something right now.
Well, you may be, but I mean, we've gone through strep and flu and the stomach bug, a lot of stuff between me and the kids, and you've managed to avoid them for the most part.
Most of it I do.
And you're the only one in the house that's taking them regularly.
Yeah.
So.
Because I'm selfish. I can't get anybody else to take them.
Now, just like with the turkey tail, there's certain ways you can prepare these if you get them fresh, and then there's ways to make the extracts.
Okay.
To be able to take them. So fresh mushrooms, I will say in our area, this one is very hard to find. I believe higher elevations typically do better.
Mountains and hills.
So like the one that I did, well, that I think it was actually a coral tooth actually, but the closest thing I found to a good size one within the same family was actually in Manchester, Tennessee, and that's getting into the mountainous terrain and higher elevations.
Yeah, that's Middle Tennessee.
Yeah, and so most of the time, whenever I see people post that they have found one in the groups that I'm in on Facebook, which by the way is another great resource if you want to learn what some of these mushrooms look like, where to find them, what grows in your area. There are all kind of groups on Facebook that have, like I'm in Tennessee mushroom foraging group. There's typically one for just about every state, and you can start learning what they look like when they're growing or like when the harvest season for them are. When people start finding them, you know, okay, it's getting close. We can start looking for these.
Yeah, if you started off hunting mushrooms and you were like, I'm not going to hunt all the worthless mushrooms or what you would consider to be worthless, and I'm just going to hunt lion's mane. I bet you wouldn't stay in the hobby very long.
No, because they're just hard to find.
I guess maybe in Colorado or something. There is a group that I've seen. They have like an annual festival where they go out and harvest lion's mane in large groups, and they'll even take you on a guided tour if you've never been there. So like that's something I wouldn't mind doing, and it's actually I believe in Colorado Springs, which is a place where we've visited before.
Yeah.
But I don't quote me on that. I'm just going by memory. So we'll see how well the lion's mane's working. But there is a yearly thing these people do. Now there's also yearly groups in Colorado and those areas that are looking for the psilocybin types.
Yeah.
But there are mushroom hunters out there that are looking for culinary mushrooms and medicinal mushrooms that are legal.
Yeah, and actually just like wild culturing groups in general, it may be season for morels right now, and the groups will be looking for that, but they may also be looking for the maypops and stuff whenever they're growing, because different plants have different purposes. So sometimes you can look up and get into a group where you learn about several different things that you could harvest right out your back door type scenario. But the fresh mushrooms, you do want to cook them. You want to make sure you clean them well. They are a thicker, spongier mushroom. So when you're rinsing them,
we're talking about culinary, right?
Yes.
Okay.
If you're gonna cook them to eat, when you rinse them, you really have to press them out. They'll hold that water, and you're trying to get the stuff cleaned out of it. So like, it's like squeezing out a sponge, literally. But the texture is similar to crab or lobster, which is why they work really well in recipes for like crab cakes.
Yeah, crab rangoon.
Yeah.
Any of that stuff, like you can just slice it up and warm up some butter and kind of.
Yeah, they're good.
They are delicious, but they do need to be cooked. Yes. Like no matter how you're doing it, it needs. She mentioned that, but like just double iterate and before. Yeah, go ahead.
And then you can dry them, like dehydrate them and use them for teas, just like you would with the turkey tail. You tear pieces up, you bring a water almost to boil, let it steep, make you a tea out of it. And
this is how you're going to extract those polysaccharides, right? Okay.
And then you can also
she's looking for notes.
You do the alcohol
tincture.
Yes. Which is where you're going to take the dried pieces, put it in alcohol, let it sit for a few weeks in a cool, dark place, and pull out the other compounds within the mushroom
that's generally the PSK and the
PSP. Yeah, I know those specifically
are alcohol.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so those are alcohol soluble. So those need to be. Those are also the ones that are like have the most reputable. I don't know how do you say it?
Cancer
fighting agents. Yeah.
Yeah, they're believed to be the components that are the cancer fighting agents in the mushrooms that have it.
Yeah, and while we're on that, this can only really be gotten from the fruiting body, according to a lot of mycologists. Now, Paul Stamets, uses mycelium and host defense mushrooms. That's pretty much all. I mean, like you get on hostdefense.com and you start looking at literature and going on there, I think I typed in mycelium versus fruiting body, or I was looking up full spectrum or something like that. He's got tons of Q&A on his, and this isn't sponsored. I don't care if you buy Fresh Caps or Host Defense or if you don't buy any of them at all. And no matter what you buy, talk to your doctor first, right? But like the he kind of calls BS on polysaccharide. He's like, there's no way to tell how much polysaccharides is going to be in one mushroom to the next.
And I'm glad you said that, because I was actually gonna say something about that when we get to like when you're looking for supplements. Like this over here in my notes is recommending you look for one that's got at least 30% beta glucans. But from what we've got from our study, and there's no consistent, reliable way of measuring the beta glucans in any one mushroom,
unless you have the tools to actually single them out. You know, like a chemistry lab to single them out.
And even then, the results were inconsistent between different methods. Okay. So it's like,
don't go buy a chemistry lab then.
No. So like that's why Paul Stamets is like, they can say there's however much they want. This method may say that. You go to this method, it's going to tell you a different number. You go to this method, it's going to tell you a different number. And there's several different methods of them trying to figure out how much beta glucans in a sample of these mushrooms, but every method they have gives a different result.
And totally unrelated, but it kind of, my mind's kind of been on the Jack Daniels thing. You know, like Canada pulled all the Jack Daniels out. Like, I mean, if you happen to be listening in March of 2025, that's a big thing right now. But Canada pulled all the Jack Daniels off the shelf, and it kind of got me thinking about the single barrel proof. I was like, you know, I could use a bottle of single barrel proof. I need to get me another bottle of that. I could
use a bottle of something.
There you go. And this is the deal, man. It's like I remember hearing them talk about like they've been working for years. I mean, you know, decades upon decades trying to get this alcohol consistency about the same. But on the single barrel proof, that they have a method for the 40%. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, but because that's just going to be adding water or whatever it is, you know, to bring that barrel down to 40%, no problem. But as far as like trying to start, like one barrel might be 61.2%. The next barrel might be 63.9%. And this is all going to, you know, be in due part of how much sugar the corn has in it, or the mash bill in general has got in it. So it's like, you can't, if Jack Daniels, with all the money they have, you know, being probably one of the most famous whiskeys in the world, can't consistently get their alcohol content in a barrel over the course of what, I don't know how many years.
I don't know how long they did.
A long time. But yeah, like the most likely, I would say it was a fair assumption for them, for the mycologists to have just as much difficulty trying to figure out exactly how many beta glucans and PSK and the PSPs and all that stuff that are actually in the mushrooms to be able to actually claim a certain amount.
Right.
But then again, you know, Jack Daniels does know they're going to get within 2 or 3%. You know what I mean? And that's a horrible analogy.
Yeah, and I was supposed to say it, like with that, it's taking a product that they're mixing several products, and it's like a recipe like anything else. But with mushrooms, depending on how they're growing, when they're growing, the type of year, it's kind of like pecans. Some years they don't freaking grow at all. So like when you're dealing with plants, or not technically plants, but the closest thing to compare them to, like
within 7% DNA to humans.
Yeah,
crazy.
It's crazy. But when you're dealing with a live specimen that many factors go into the health of.
That's right.
Then that's where you get into not knowing.
Oh, both me and you are both humans, and our levels on several different things are going to be different. I guarantee it.
Oh yeah.
You know, like, so if somebody's just picking up humans, we had a giant from Jack and the Beanstalk coming down here, and just picking up humans, like
this
add
one
3
had
humans.
so much protein. They must all have protein, like right. Whatever it may be. Like it's a living organism that grows in different environments, and depending on its environment, the nutrients in that environment may greatly affect the compounds within it. It just like if we don't ever get certain vitamins, our bodies are going to be depleted of those vitamins because our environment's not providing it.
Yeah.
And so I feel that's more of like how I'm understanding, like the analogy that I'm creating in my head to understand why it may be different.
I mean, it makes sense to me. But yeah, culinary speaking, I like just a ADD back to that for a second, man. Lion's mane are delicious. If you live in West Tennessee, a lot of our listeners right now, we don't have very many of them, but a lot of them are our friends that live in the area. So if you live in West Tennessee and you go to Grubbs
in Jackson,
Tennessee, they generally have lion's mane readily available. And
that's where we got it the last time, and you slice it up.
It is just delicious.
We battered it and fried it, and it was good.
It's not cheap, but it's not, what is?
Right.
Okay. Go ahead.
And for coffee lovers out there, there's some stuff somewhat like coffee.
The Rise coffee? Is that the Rise coffee you're talking about?
Well, there's a couple of different brands that have it. Like even Paul Stamets, Host Defense, has a coffee mix, or like what they call a coffee blend of mushrooms. But so like you can get the lion's mane that's infused with coffee to do your supplement intake with, if you prefer having something similar to coffee tasting. And then there's just regular supplements you can buy. If you like I said, it's going to be difficult to find it yourself. So making your own is probably going to be out of the question for a lot of people. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know how wild it grows in Colorado, but we have seen some people like make some really big deals off, finding like 5-10 pounds of lion's mane in Colorado. And but by comparison, or in contrast, we've probably harvested 50 pounds of honey mushrooms out of people's yards, and within a couple of hours around here, which is another fabulous mushroom we'll talk about at some point. But yeah, it's maybe not the easiest one to find, but like just do your own study. Talk to your doctor about whether you want to go full spectrum, fruiting bodies only. Full spectrum would be fruiting bodies and mycelium.
Yeah,
and then you got like brands like Host Defense that are, from what I can tell, there's no other evidence pointing me in any other direction, is fully powered by mycelium. That's what it says on the bottle. I mean, it doesn't say fully, it just says powered by mycelium, but it doesn't mention any kind of fruiting body being inside their stuff at all. So the mycelium is like the root. And he goes into great detail on his website as to why he chooses to use mycelium over fruiting bodies. So there's lots of good data there too. All right. Next point, Courtney, go ahead.
If you are wanting to start supplementing, like recommended dosages for general wellness is 0.5 gram to 1 gram daily. And so that's just like immune support, gut support, general wellness.
That's what I do. I do 0.5 gram a day. I take 1 gram pill, but like in order to get a whole gram of lion's mane mycelium from Host Defense, you got to take the 2 pills, because the serving size is actually 2 pills. I just take 1. So I'm assuming I'm getting roughly 500 milligrams of lion's mane per day. And the reason why I don't take the full doses on any of them is because of that immune system thing. Like just trying to get some sort of benefits without like
over boosting your immune system. Yeah. For cognitive support, it's recommended 1 to 3 grams daily.
Well, that's why I'm still stupid.
I was waiting on that when I said that.
Anybody want her?
But it's best to be taken consistently over weeks to notice any significant effects, which is kind of what we were talking about earlier. When he takes it for a while, he may not notice the effects while he's taking it, but when he stops, he can notice a difference.
Yeah. I'm pretty good with a regimen. I mentioned that before on the turkey tail episode, but the thing, what I'm not good with is if I'm not seeing a major improvement, if I can't tell something fairly immediately, and when I mean immediately, I'm talking about within a couple months, I generally fall off. But some of these changes are gradual.
Yeah. And meant to be like a slower process.
Yeah. It's like it needs time to get in your system and start growing its own little things so it can take over your brain.
Like some cordyceps do the ants.
Yeah, and I guess to note, just ADD on this, but I've been taking the cordyceps for 2 weeks now. I might not be taking enough, but I have not experienced any kind of energy boost whatsoever. But I'm also on about 1,000 milligram a day regimen of caffeine between the coffee and the Monsters. And the
right. Just like with any other mushroom, if you're going to do supplements, you want to make sure where the supplements are coming from. Buy from a source that is known to be reputable. I wouldn't just buy just anything off Amazon.
No, man, I would. A good place to start would be Host Defense. This dude is like legitimately one of the most trusted, if not the most trusted, mycologist in the world. But Fresh Caps, I am going to personally, when it's time for me to re-up, and actually I probably need to make that order right now in order to be able to get them in time, I'm going to switch over from Host Defense to Fresh Caps, which is fully fruiting bodies. It's not a full spectrum mushroom. What do you call it? Not a full spectrum
supplement.
But it's a fruiting body supplement. So like I just want to see if there's any difference.
Right.
From going from mycelium to fruiting body. So I'll report back on that too on the later episodes of,
because Paul Stamets stuff with Host Defense is all mycelium.
And it does do something.
And Fresh Caps is all fruiting body.
That's right.
So it would be going one end of the spectrum to the other.
That's right. And and I do know that the Host Defense does something, or I feel like it does. Like I said, it could be a placebo effect, but
okay. And then recommended people that should avoid it is anyone with known mushroom allergies, of course.
Yeah.
Just like most everything else, pregnant women or nursing women.
That's weird.
Yeah, I don't know why, but most stuff is like that. Perfectly healthy, but don't do it while you're pregnant.
Just live off the prenatal vitamins if you're pregnant or nursing.
And then individuals with low blood pressure, because lion's mane may have hypotensive effects.
It may
make your blood pressure drop.
Okay.
So if you already have a lower blood pressure, it may be a negative effect on you. It may make the blood pressure drop down lower.
Okay. I've never had any issues with my blood pressure on record, but the last time I had it checked, I was at the doctor over some sort of illness that I wasn't able to dodge. And when she checked my blood pressure, she said, "Wow." And I was like, "What's up?" She goes, "Your blood pressure is perfect. Like on the dot." Like, I was like, "Oh, cool." She's like, "Yeah, I'm not used to seeing that from ugly fat people like you." That's
what she really wanted to say.
That was the understood statement.
But okay, so that was one that I didn't know. Me
neither.
And I am one that typically has a naturally lower blood pressure.
Yeah.
So it may be one of the things that I want to keep a lookout on if I did start taking it regularly.
Yeah, no doubt.
Because blood pressure dropping can make you fall out real quick.
Yeah.
Possible interactions with other medications. They may interact with blood thinning medications. They could enhance the effects of nerve-related drugs. And always consult your healthcare provider before starting new supplements.
You might as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you could be like, "Hey, I need, adult joke here, I guess." But if it's going to enhance those nerve medications, you could be like, "Hook me up with some Xannies, but only hook me up with half of them." Because I got the lion's mane over here.
For the other half.
It's going to enhance the other half.
But I'll go ahead and throw a couple more studies out here if you want to look them up. Another one for cognitive function is Mushrooms Magnify Memory by Boosting Nerve Growth is the title of it. Then under mood and health, you've got lion's mane mushroom, a potential natural treatment for depression and anxiety. And that one, it said it highlights the mushroom's ability to promote neurogenesis and improve mood, suggesting its potential as an alternative or complementary treatment for these conditions. So it is one that may, kind of like the turkey tail did with the cancer treatment, given with the cancer treatments, it tended to do better at treating and curing the cancers. This study is suggesting, along with other treatments, the lion's mane may actually help with the anxiety and depression.
Okay.
And then neuroprotective benefits. So protecting your brain and the central nervous system. Lion's mane mushroom, potential neuroprotective benefits. So
if you play hockey or football, rugby, stuff like that, you can do away with your helmet.
I'm not sure that's what it's talking about, but it can help protect against oxidative stress and inflammation, which is one of the key risk factors for Alzheimer's disease.
Okay. Well, cool, man. It sounds like it does a lot of stuff in theory, and I'm sure just like anything else, all this stuff is going to, be dependent on who's taking it, like your biometric makeup,
right.
All that stuff, the homeostasis and, like how much can it help a fully healthy person that doesn't
homeostasis, by the way.
Homeostasis. Homeostasis. What was that? Biodome?
Yeah.
With Pauly Shore and
the bubble lived in the bubble.
Yeah. Just because we're in a bubble don't mean we can't cause any trouble. We got the homeostasis back up to 97%. I was proud of those guys.
Yeah.
Was that a true story?
I doubt it.
Okay.
And just to end it, I'll give you just some basic nutrition facts, because for people who want to keep up with what they're putting in, the lion's mane has about 7.6 grams of carbs.
How is this an ounce of lion's mane that has all this stuff?
It did not say when I was looking up what the serving size was for these.
Okay.
So I'm gonna assume somewhere around a cup.
Okay.
About like most stuff is. 4.4 grams of fiber, 2.5 grams of protein. Then you've got 10% of your daily value of potassium and niacin. And you got vitamin D's, D2 and D3.
Ooh, D3 is the good one, I think. I don't know.
But so that's some just basic nutrition facts that you can get from consuming them if you just want to go buy some and eat some.
She didn't mention the riboflavin. That's in all the cereal. That's the only reason I still eat cereal. It's the only thing I've ever seen it in.
Well, it's 30% of the recommended daily amount.
I got to be having my Cheerios every once in a while just to get my riboflavins.
It's also got magnesium.
I don't even know what a riboflavin is. You know what a riboflavin is? Are you a riboflavin expert? Do you know a riboflavin expert? You want to come on and talk about riboflavins?
We're getting into that chemistry stuff that I'm going to be lost in.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that's it. If you have any questions, ask them below. If you're on YouTube or Spotify, we don't really have a way to monitor the Apple thing or the Amazon thing. They're just kind of out there.
Amazon, I can go look at.
Okay, we can look at the Amazon thing.
The Apple doesn't really have much information for me.
We know most of you guys are over on Spotify
or
YouTube. So, like, if you have any questions, feel free to ask.
And let us know if you've done the lion's mane. Like, leave a
Absolutely.
comment.
What kind of results have you had? And also, if it's not too much to ask, rate the show. Doesn't matter if you think it's a 1-star or a 5-star. Give us a thumbs up. Share it with your buddies you think might like it. We very much appreciate it. All of that stuff helps the show. And until next time.
Talk to you later.
I guess that's the end.